I don't know, man. Derrick Henry, Jacobs, Barkley,
I just
Cook.
don't see those teams getting rid of those names.
Yeah, I don't know. But Tennessee not getting rid of Derrick Henry at some point and getting something for him.
Yeah.
It's like,
Time's right.
yeah. And if you love the guy, set him free. Because he's basically, next year or the year after next year, you're not going to be able to get anything for him. At some point, he's going to wear out. I hate buying tickets. I've been playing my whole life, never had to worry about buying tickets. The ticket part is stressful. The game's stressful. The ticket part's really stressful. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. And with the Game Time app, it's easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. I'm trying to see the monster trucks for my kids or Willie Nelson for me and my kids. I can find it all in the Game Time app. Game Time's the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has the deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code GREENLIGHT for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code GREENLIGHT for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Whatever you're looking forward to this football season, there's one thing that pairs well with every great moment, and that is an ice cold Miller Lite. Whether you're at the stadium, playing fantasy football, or watching the game at home, or at the bar, Miller Lite is here to make your football season taste like Miller time. From kickoff to the clock runs out, you can't go wrong with the Miller Lite in your hand. It's the only light beer with a taste worthy of our national obsession. Because what's the point of having beer if it doesn't taste like beer? I go to Dirty Nelly's every weekend. Sometimes I'm prepping for the show at the bar on Saturday night, watching a little college football, getting ready to lay out our Miller Lite moments. I like to have an ice cold Miller Lite right next to me. And the folks at Dirty Nelly's, they know when I get there to have my ice cold Miller Lite. It's got only 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12-ounce serving with a smooth taste and a crisp, clean finish. You get the taste you crave without the calories. So this season, crack open a light beer that hits your taste buds so hard you feel it in your heart. Make it Miller time all season long. Get Miller Lite delivered right to your door. Visit MillerLite.com/greenlight. Or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs for 12 ounces. White Steve.
Yo.
What's up?
What's up, fellas?
How we doing?
Little extra energy in Charlottesville this week or what? How about that?
Macon's excited.
I'm excited, Steve.
Should
Do your hello
be.
here. Do your hello here.
Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Hello! Because not only, Steve, did we ruin their chances at the college football playoff, mere months ago, we ruined their chances at the NCAA tournament in hoops.
Yeah.
It's just like basketball, baby. 23.5 points. Here's your loss.
Oof.
Now, when I was a wee boy, Steve, there wasn't such a thing as Virginia Tech. They were in the Metro Conference, and in many ways, they still are.
So is Florida State.
But it was Carolina, you know? I had a bumper sticker on my bed because,
Yeah.
I wasn't advanced as a 7-year-old one driving.
Yeah.
And it said my two favorite teams are Virginia and whoever's playing North Carolina.
That's so funny because for a while there, I really got pulled into the powder blue thing.
Well, it's an intense attraction.
Yeah.
And the school is reputable.
It's a shiny object. Michael Jordan and the color powder blue. That's really all you have going for you. Also, I went on Wikipedia. That you people from Chapel Hill. It's the whole fucking alumni base. We don't have that under the Charlottesville Wikipedia.
Yeah.
It's like the one lost to UMBC and the Klan came here one time. And Tina Fey.
It was fall break for UNC. Really, 92% of your kids are from the state of North Carolina.
That's a lot of words to have on a bumper
freak show.
sticker.
It says Virginian, big letters,
Yeah.
you know? And then my two favorite teams are Virginia and whoever's playing.
Anyways.
A lot of words.
Anyways, no fucking game day at Chapel Hill, is there? I mean, no, it's just basketball. Nope.
Wait.
You'd have Ben Folds come back there. I was like, oh, Ben Folds is from Chapel Hill? No, he just went to UNC or something. He, like, spent time on campus.
Oh, Eric Church, you got a drink in your hand? You went to App State, my friend.
Ooh.
Easy. Marty's a friend of the program. We don't want to talk about the Chief.
Marty,
like that.
oh, hokey? Degree says Radford. At least Stanford Steve.
You had that in your back pocket. He was here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So before college game day, Steve, we gotta talk about the NFL Monday night. We talked about it on the show coming in. I thought this would be a trouble spot for the Niners, but I did not think they'd lose this game. I mean, 7 points is a lot for a team that tends to play some close ones at home against the Niners defense that this is a game, Steve, where I feel like in the NFL, I'm not going to judge a team for having one bad game, but when they have that terrible game and they have all this time to get ready for the next one and they come out and they play poorly in spots on both sides of the ball, I think it's something to worry about. But I do want to start the breakdown because I'm learning this as I go. The fan bases want to hear about the team that won first. If I'm a Minnesota fan, I don't want to hear about the San Francisco 49ers first. I'm only going to do that to Pats fans. Just fucking with you guys. But like, let's start with Kirk Cousins, man. This is like when I got out, Steve, and this is my foray into NFL gambling. I'm sitting at home. I'm hitting the app. It's my first fall out, and I'm betting. I bet the Vikings, I think, against the Seahawks or something like that on Monday night. And I announced it on Twitter, which is a mistake because people are going to tell you you're wrong. But they hit me with all the Kirk Cousins primetime stuff, and I did not realize that was a thing. I was breaking a cardinal. I was doing a cardinal sin.
Yep.
And I did it again last night, not knowing why it'd be any different, but it was. And I want to shout out Kirk Cousins. His track record's not great in primetime. Some of it's not his fault, but I thought he was tremendous last night. And, for Brock Purdy getting a lot of shit today, but people are going to point out the guys he's missing. They're missing Justin Jefferson. Okay? And they did a great job.
No run game.
No, not really. And, third downs, the whole thing. I think O'Connell's as good a young coach as there is, although I thought at times they were a little conservative, like down in the red zone and then with 9 minutes left, punting.
Yep.
But that is almost like hey, I like our matchup, and I like the way this is playing out. They can't get off the field. Why would I punt? If we get the ball back, we're going to score, and I feel good about our defense. So I just tip my cap to those guys. And obviously Jordan Addison is it's like he's been doing this stuff, but we haven't had a chance to see him in prime time, and he went off last night.
Yeah, a bunch of things. We did Daily Wager Monday, and that's the first thing that comes up. Kirk Cousins, prime time, bad struggles. And I asked the question because I get a point. We do so many graphics, and we have people that work hard and research and all that, and they throw up the record 11-19 in primetime. I'm like, okay, I get it. That's everybody's joke, everybody's favorite thing on the internet. How many times was he an underdog in those spots?
Yeah,
that's not a fair assessment to me. So I've never been one of these pile-on people of I'm blindly betting Kirk Cousins in primetime, and it's just not what I like to do. I don't think it's fair, and it doesn't tell you the whole story. So that whole thing is out of it, and I really looked at it. You can't underestimate the sign of desperation, especially in an NFL locker room. Are you kidding me? Yeah. Knowing what their schedule is, I don't know how many more primetime games they even have, and to have this opportunity. And to try and forget what San Francisco looked like the week before. But then, when I look at it, I'm like, okay, Trent Williams, that's a big deal to me. When I am assessing a game and the best left tackle in the game is not playing, and I'm in a road game situation, okay, now I got to back up. What's the toughest thing for offensive line on the road? Snap count, noise, that whole thing. Now I got to back up against one of the best guys there is. All right, now I got my X factor, Debo. He's out. Okay, And right there, I'm like, okay, desperation. Cousins, they've already worked out the kinks without Jefferson. They plenty of unselfish guys. They still have a stud in Hawkinson. They got running backs that could gain yardage. And I just home underdog Monday night. It had all the likings, and then we get to the show for Daily Wager, and 82% of the money's on the Niners. I said, give me the 7 points. I didn't
Which
have
is
the guts
wild
to take
because if you're sharp at all, you have a little bit of it in you. You think bet the Niners off that tough spot last week.
Yeah,
but it just wasn't true. It just
Correct.
wasn't true, and it's like you have to trick Dick Vegas like twice. But I mean, I thought with Kirk, the biggest key was you mentioned the running backs, you mentioned Hawkinson. They really have more than you think.
Yes.
But the two tackles. Now, me and Nolan were
O'Neal.
going through this earlier. O'Neal and Darisaw. Darisaw being like elite, kind of on the edge of elite, but I love what he gives you in the run game, so he's unique that way. And you talk about Trent missing. They missed him in the run game. You're like, what's wrong with the Niners? Nobody wants to talk about the run game. Trent's a fucking beast in the run game. Okay, Darisaw is good in the run game. And then on top of that, O'Neal is a quality starter. So you have two tackles you don't have to worry about. I don't know where you'd rank them. I think Philly's got the number 1-1-2 punch. There's also like the Lions are real good. The Seahawks are real good. But this group's right up there, and they kept Kirk clean. And they couldn't, and I think that's like when you look at this game, I don't know who you blame more. And we'll get to the Niners offense. But I think in general, if you're the Niners, there was this sense that they had this unstoppable force up front because of the numbers of guys. And I think Nick Bosa being the headliner and everything, but when you take him away, who's winning? And for Steve Wilkes, the biggest decision of the game comes with 17 seconds to go in the first half, no timeouts. They're at like the 35, their own 35. And in this circumstance, you're still in this game. You've played like shit. You turned the ball over in the red zone.
10-7.
You threw up the whole thing. It's 10-7. So what do you do in this situation? You got this great group rushing up front, who, by the way, just traded for Randy Gregory. I don't know if that's a big deal or not. It didn't cost him anything, but it's saying like we don't like something about the way this is going right now. And he got a lot of snaps. He's gotten a lot of snaps over the last 2 weeks. But in that situation, Steve Wilkes is like, let me heat these guys up. And I think it was the one call you couldn't make. And, yeah, the chances of that happening, the wrestling match for the ball, Addison, great.
For the second time in the game.
Him and Ward, they're wrestling the whole first half. But in that situation, I don't know if they'll be able to clock it if they tackle him. But the risk is it's too much, and that's what happened. And from that point on, that's the difference in the game, along with the fact that you miss a field goal in the first half, that you fumble in the red zone. And by the way, you're drafting kickers, and it's kind of a bit with me. But, like, the guy's got to be better to the point where on 4th and 6, and Purdy, we'll talk about Purdy, just missing on 3rd and 6 late in the game, that is a drive where I think they go score. And instead, you're kind of like, let's give this kicker basically a long putt so he doesn't feel the pressure of it. And he drills a 55-yarder. But, it's all those things offensively. It's missing Trent. It's missing Debo. If you look at them over the last 2 weeks, this is from, next-gen stats, but Brock's been bad in the middle of the field in EPA. I'm talking about intermediate depth. Over the first 5-6 weeks or something, he was plus 65 in EPA. Now he's like -6 over the last 2 weeks. So take from that what you will, but I think it means they're missing Debo. I think he's missing Debo. I think he's missing Trent. And I also think you're seeing that he's a fucking human being, man. Let these quarterbacks be human beings. I've criticized him in the past relative to the way people have talked about him because I've been like, pump the brakes on the top 5 quarterback thing. But also, in the same vein, he's going to have a bad game. And that's a lot of blitz. Steve, that's a lot of fucking blitz to keep focus every play. Even if they're not all well-timed or perfect.
No.
So I'm not
chaos.
excusing him, but I am saying, he'll get this fixed, I think, but he also needs the weapons. This Niners team, unless it's fully healthy, is not like the Super Bowl favorite. If they're healthy, they're right there.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, 3rd down's terrible.
Yep.
The pass rush. Steve, not to rant about the Niners here, but just forgive me because it's just me and my phone in a fucking SUV for 4 hours on the way up to Philly every Monday night. But the pressure on Nick Bosa right now to perform must be huge. I know it's not must be. I know because I've been the big contract guy, not to his degree. Else I wouldn't be doing this shit. No offense. I'm just joking. You see he's doing underwear ads now. I wouldn't have been getting those either. But, like, he's got 2.5 sacks, right? And we know sacks are not, like, the end-all, be-all, and they're very dependent. Like, last night they took him away. They paid extra attention to him. Nick Bosa's got to be feeling that, though, because every mouth-breathing fan in the NFL just looks at that stat and says, where's Nick Bosa? But the unfair thing about making that kind of money is, and maybe it's fair, is people want to see that number, or else you're not going to be able to justify the money. And I know he's going through it. I can remember having slumps where I was just like, it affected my mental health looking at that number, and I know he's going through it. Yeah,
there's just so much added into that. Like you talked about, like, guess what number one priority was for the Vikings going into that game on their offensive line?
Nick Bosa.
Yeah, like, like
not like playing Philly where it's like, oh, I gotta choose.
Correct. And it's like, all right, we're gonna be able to chip here. Let's go. Let's run an F. Short motion. Let's help on the edge here. All right, if he moves over here, we're gonna motion this way. Running back. Make sure your eyes are always. We're 97. Like, it's just nonstop, and you could see him like a couple times. He just said, "Screw it. I'm bull rushing. Yep. I'm just gonna try and collapse the pocket," and which is fine because you're still making a difference. But to your sense of talking about, that number and, all the mathematic people on the internet doing, how many dollars he's getting paid per sack, like, have fun with all that. But, yeah, no, it's a lot of pressure. I mean, the spotlight that these guys are on and knowing what that talk was all off season and when they were going to get him, and everybody knew the dollar amount or a guesstimate. It's got to be a lot. And, winning cures everything. And when you go through two of those where you just can't put it together and you're still that close too. Like, they played their C minus game the last 2 weeks and they lost by 8 points total.
You're going to lose games in the
road.
NFL. I don't know how long people have been watching the NFL, but you're going to lose games in the NFL. Yep. The problem is if A, they can't get healthy, or B, the play from the quarterback continues. That's it. Because the defense is flawed. Like, it's not perfect. On the back end, they could use some help in some places. I think they're as good as anybody in the middle of the field because of Fred Warner and the safety play with Ufanga. They obviously have a rush group that most people would love to have. But there's something about either the fractions of time right now or the variations of the coverage that they're calling that these guys can't, for those fractions of time, get home. And I think that's the difference between having 50 sacks one year and 30 or 35, and that – people look at that ranking and say, shit. But I also look at this. It's Brock late in the game because Brock played well in spots through 3 quarters. Like, there were spots where I was like, okay, that's Brock Purdy. But right down to, I think it was like the end of the third quarter, he had a miss on a key down. And then from there, you had the 2 picks late, which I don't know what he's looking at. I think on one of them he thinks Murphy's going to run the seam. And then the first one, maybe there's something with the timing. We talked about this. Me and Noel were talking about how timing-oriented everything he does is. It's a lot like Tua in Miami. It's like he knows where somebody's going to be. He's looking at the picture.
It looked like a miss on a spot throw.
And it's a spot throw, and maybe Jennings is like a little late or a little bit, not on the same page. And that's also a window into how misleading it can be. And I'm not giving the guy an excuse because a week ago I was a hater because I said he hadn't proven that he's like a top 8 quarterback yet. I can't say that for sure. No. You got to win games like this when you're a little bit shorthanded. Correct. I respect the hell out of him. I think he's a really good fucking quarterback, and I'd love to have him on my team. The guys love him, but he's the only person that can pull himself out of this little slump. And it can happen. It can happen fast.
Yeah, I mean, look how fast that thing turns. I mean, it's just like, that's why I think the heck out of Shanahan. Like that, they get 0 blitz, they go McCaffrey with that deep circle motion, and boom, it's a 0 blitz, and you got one-on-one, you got a slot to the bottom. Those guys got one-on-one blocks, and McCaffrey has to make a guy miss, boom, gone, touchdown. And that place is like, oh, shit, here we go again. Like, that's how fast it could happen in that league. And, you go back right to the beginning, a red zone turnover. It's McCaffrey's second of the year. Right there, your mindset I'm not saying your game plan changes, but your mindset definitely changes. Knowing how limited possessions are in the NFL, and knowing that you just let a huge opportunity to get points on the board, get this crowd out of the game, take a lead on the road, which is exactly the recipe. And the talk was all week in practice. Like, we started off in Cleveland up 7-0, and then we let it get away from them. Let's go up 7-0 and pounce on it. And they couldn't do it. And I go back, things that happened in the first half. It means a lot more in the NFL than it does in college football. So it wasn't crisp at all. But again, going back to it, this league is about winning games and winning them when you don't play your best and you don't have your best guys. And, a win that's totally different. It didn't mean anything close to that last night. But like the Giants have been piecing shit together on the offensive line, and you go play against the Commanders with that defense, and you claw out a win after an absolutely brutal loss the week before in Buffalo. Like, that's what this league is.
Yes.
And that's why I say you got to forget what you see a team looks like the week before. You have to do it because it's just so many things changes. I mean,
especially in division, not in this case in Minnesota and San Francisco, but with the the Giants, the Commies, the Pats, the Bills, like these guys know each other. It's like it's a different kind of thing. One more thing I would say is Christian McCaffrey played in every fucking snap for like 3 quarters at least of this game. Now I didn't track it in the fourth quarter, but he's off an oblique. Like you don't want to find out what it's like to play without him for an extended period of time. I can assure you. And at the end of the day, we'll cross the San Francisco bridge when we come to it next week. I think they'll be better as guys get healthy.
They reeled off 12 in a row last year after losing week 6 and 7.
Yeah, that's a great point. And
there it is.
They'll be okay. But they got to get healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's hear about game day. How was game day in Columbus? I know how it was for me. The Nittany Lions 7 different ways. My kids are like, what does Nittany mean? I don't know.
It was pretty eye-opening because I felt a sense that we were staying in Penn State's hotel, fans Friday night walking around pretty confident. This is our time. What's done is done. It's time for James Franklin to get a win. And I had thought that going into the game. Watching the tape, I really thought Penn State's offensive line would hold up in this atmosphere, but you saw it right off the get, guys. You look at quarterbacks who haven't been in that kind of situation. I mean, it's sellout. Ohio's ready to go, and Aller's, just not himself. And you saw that with Aaron throws. You saw that with him, I think, overthinking. The first third down, it's a simulated pressure, and they literally, I think they only sent 3 or 4. And he gives the old, double pump shoulder thing. And I'm like, oh, boy, they might be in his head already.
Yeah.
And it was just catch-up. The scoop and score nullified by a hold.
That was brutal. The swing of emotions there, dude.
Yeah. And I'm standing right in front of it. Like, I saw the flag. So I know it's coming back. I mean, you got LeVar Arrington and everybody on the sideline going crazy. And then, a couple minutes before the half, Ohio State scores to go up 10-3, and my buddy standing next to me is like, Penn State might be mathematically eliminated from this one. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, they couldn't. I mean, their defense, I'll tell you, I know Franklin's getting stuff for saying, those are 2 championship teams. Those defenses are as real.
Yeah, really good.
Oh, God, playmakers
really
all
good.
over. Penn State's secondary, I thought, battled all day. And the question was asked if Marvin Harrison Jr. was on Penn State Saturday, do they win the game?
Dude, what's up with Manny Diaz treating him like Mitsubishi Marv, not Maserati Marv, which I didn't even know was a thing.
Yeah, I didn't. We were on the sidelines. We didn't have the TV feed, so I was.
Gus was going. He was going to the well on that one.
Yeah, I think they tried guessing. I think they guessed wrong a couple times, Chris, early on when you saw those one-on-ones. I thought Ohio State did a great job, though, of moving Harrison around. And whether you get those staggered shallows, where you get the natural picks, a guy's running vertical and him being able to pick a side to go underneath or over on top. And also, contested catches. Penn State couldn't make one when it really counted. But, yeah, later in the game, there's in the corner of the end zone, I think it's still 13 or 17-6. And or 13-6, and they get Harrison. They bracket him down in the red zone. Great job, and they force Ohio State to kick a field goal. So I think it was just asking too much for that much amount of time they were on the field. When you look at what Penn State did offensively, third down, to make their defense be on the field that long. I mean, I think you saw it with Duke against Florida State. I found myself respecting the hell out of Duke and that team, but against Florida State, Norvell calling those plays, as good as he is at that, you can't hold up for that. As fast as these teams play, as many plays as there are, you can't do it. And the offenses with the talent they have, it's just too much to ask for when you're up against it, on the road in atmospheres like that for those defenses.
Let me ask you this. I was actually, my wife wanted to go to the movies this weekend, and, she was like, how's Saturday? And, when she asked how's Saturday, you're kind of like, well, college football would be nice, especially after I wanted to chase after the Penn State game. But I said, fuck it, let's do it. Let's go see Leonardo DiCaprio's greatest performance of all time in Martin Scorsese's last film, Killers of the Flower Moon, and I'm tracking the Iowa-Minnesota game, which, by the way, the movie's not great.
I heard.
Okay?
I heard.
Good to know.
But I'm tracking the Iowa game. The guy next to me, I'm sure, when you're in a Leo movie, you feel like people are really apt to be like, this is cinema. Put your fucking phone away. I can get away with that at Paw Patrol, but I'm tracking.
Yes, you're totally right.
Right. I'm on cue. Like, I'm walking in. I'm like kind of late. People are gonna be mad at me. Like, it's a film festival. It's fucking Killers of the Flower Moon. It's 3 hours of the same plot over and over again. It should have made it an episodic thing, but I'm tracking Iowa, Minnesota, and it was the most confusion I've ever had on the score app because the thing was like malfunctioning. It was like touchdown. I nudged Meg. I'm like, we're good. Like the whole thing. And then I'm trying to look at the chat, which is like the bowels of sports social media, is the chat on the score app. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Where do you land on what you saw at the end of that game?
Of Iowa?
Yeah.
Oh, God. I mean, where do you start and where do you end? Like, you got to blow the whistle right away, right? When it's a fair catch violation, that's usually blown dead right away. It's not a flag. It's a whistle and a flag. But it's kind of, I was asked all week, going on our shows on the network, what do you think? Iowa, Minnesota, the lowest over-under ever. I was like, yeah, take the over. Like, maybe the defenses will score.
Yeah.
That was totally wrong. 3 of my picks on bad beats this week. That's not a great feeling.
We're not having a good couple.
Speaking of comments on posts, don't go on any of mine that came in posts.
There's nothing like
bad.
People who think you
It'll
owe
turn,
them money.
Steve. It'll turn.
No, but listen, and they come in bunches. So, that the whole point of calling for a fair catch is so people don't decapitate you, right? Did anybody stop running? Did anybody stop trying to? No,
because they all ran into each other after he got the ball.
Everybody's trying to tackle the motherfucker. So I know it might be by the letter of the law and everything, but that was a brutal way to lose 3 teasers. Especially
tracking it. I can't imagine. Because
I
feel well, you're Mr. Unders, so you love it. But when I'm checking scores on my phone, traveling, whatever, on the plane, whatever, in the car, and there's no score change, I'm just looking at my battery just dying. And I'm like, why'd you check it already? Why did you check it?
Especially a Big Ten game. I mean, so anyways, where are you going this week?
Salt Lake City.
Yep. Tell us about it.
Fired up. I think when you look at resumes amongst the one-loss teams, right, at the top of the rankings, everybody waiting for that first edition of the college football rankings next week. But when you look at the resumes of the one-loss teams, I think Utah should be at the top. Just what they've been up against, and now that they've finally I feel like they have their identity. The rising situation, you could say it was mishandled. You could say people weren't smart up front or, being truthful. But that's all part of everything. And in college, when you can hide stuff and try and use stuff, I'm sure we'll get into to find a competitive advantage, you got to take that because guys are petrified of information getting out. But when I look at Utah, their resume amongst the one-loss teams is second to none, I believe, with the wins that they have. So I'm super fired up. It's always great to go there. When you look at that, I was saying this the other day, when I think of Kyle Whittingham, everybody makes a big deal. Ryan Day, it's Ohio versus everybody, Ohio against the world. Like, Kyle Whittingham's built a program with that attitude.
Yeah.
Like everybody against us. And then on top of that, I was going through it before the season, and I'm like, Utah's kind of like the only team that is, of all these teams that have switched conferences, that's had success. Mm-hmm. I mean, they got buried their first year in the Pac-12, but, put their resume up against anybody in the conference the last couple of years, and it's good as any. I had TCU there, but they're still too much up and down. You see that this year after going to the playoff last year. But those are
Texas
two teams.
A&M kind of stuck the landing, right? No, 2 Manziel dependent.
Yeah, they still never played in a SEC title game.
Yeah, no, it's a taller task.
After the game,
those guys. The one thing I do feel bad about for A&M, they still haven't played Georgia in College Station. Imagine that.
Oh yeah.
11
after
years.
the game, Whittingham was asked what the win meant. He was like, "Oh." Like, well, I guess we're bowl eligible, but we don't really care about that around here.
Dude.
Yeah,
It was an awesome answer.
I
Turned
love
into
the
an
guy.
awesome
I
answer.
love the guy. So I know it's everybody against Kyle Whittingham, but it's hard not to like him. I know he just fucks up people's big spots. So you go in there. I forgot to ask you about the bar of the week.
Oh.
I was going to say that might be an issue in Salt Lake City. I don't know how that works. I Googled it. Google
you can
says
find 'em.
it's
You can find
vibrant and exciting, the nightlife. So
Yeah.
maybe you just drink outside.
We'll figure out Salt Lake City. Might maybe a little Clippers Jazz Friday night, maybe.
Oh.
Check out that arena. Never know.
Nice.
It's
Hyde Park, Columbus, Ohio.
Don't get in an argument with a fucking NBA player because they assume everybody in the crowd is racist in Salt Lake City. I know that's like a thing in the NBA. They go to Salt Lake City and they're just, Steve's going to have good seats. Who they playing?
The Clippers.
Who plays for the Clippers?
Name a Clipper.
Yeah,
Kawhi.
fucking Kawhi. It's hard.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'm not warmed up for basketball yet.
Neither
dude.
am I. I just had an NBA fantasy draft last night. I found out Dante DiVincenzo's on the Knicks. Didn't know.
Steve, it's a high of 73 tomorrow in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, you know what's going to be Saturday when we go on the air
Saturday,
at 7 a.m. local?
High of 48,
30.
low of 26.
30.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll maybe have the old long johns might be busted out.
Where do you lean?
In the game?
Yeah.
I hate the 7 points. I do think Oregon is legit as there is when you look at the 1 losses. They don't really have that signature win. When you look at their resume, obviously everybody goes back to the Colorado game, but seeing what Stanford did to Colorado, I don't think that has much shine. I think Washington State's a good football team, and they gave them a dose last week in a spot where you wonder what the Ducks are going to look like after an emotional loss at UW. So Oregon, this would be I think this would jump them to the 1-loss teams. For me, knowing that Bama's on a bye and Bama plays LSU in 2 weeks, and Texas is, I think, just trying to get along and make progress with Ewers out a couple weeks that he's supposed to be. Penn State, I'm sorry, 31-0 over Iowa doesn't do it for me. And the one thing I will say is we start comparing these resumes is Penn State, like that image of them, barely scoring a touchdown on the road, and I get it. Ohio State's got as many 5 stars as anybody. But when you're, making an argument to go to the playoff and your loss is when you barely scored a touchdown, I got to hold that against you. I just look at this day, and I get it. Like, I'm loving the idea. Like, that game I saw Saturday, I love the physicality. I love the defense and the tenacity. And I look at Bama. I look at them as a team no one wants to play because they're more defense-oriented. And starting to see this, come across Michigan, Georgia. They pride themselves on that. So I am really interested in the narrative of these teams because you're going to have their high score. You got your Washingtons, you got your Florida States that have great offenses, but I think these defenses are going to be a pain in the neck, and that's why people are kind of shunning them because they don't want to admit it, but they don't want to play them because they know those defenses are real, and we have a return of defense, which is good to see. But going back to Oregon, I wonder if Utah could do it again. The pig farmer at QB is going to be a great story. But top to bottom, I believe Oregon has the advantage on both sides. And Oregon wins. I'm not sure if I'm ready to give the 7 points, though.
Once you've killed a pig, you're not worried about an interception. Once you've looked into pig's eyes.
How do you know?
I mean, I don't know. I know Dr. Fax he lets those parlays go. He's just stone cold betting parlays, man. He's staring them down. He's just doing it because he kills turkeys on Thanksgiving every year. He fucking executes them. And once you've done that, there's no coming back there. You're not rattled, Somebody needs to see if Jalen Hurts was a pig farmer at one point. Did you see him the other night? Threw a fucking pick to a free runner. No problem. Touchdown. Next drive.
Steve, you wear other schools' gear on the set of Game Day. It's a brilliant gimmick. Whoever came up with this idea deserves a lot of credit. Can we send you some Virginia gear for this weekend? Hey, top 10 road wins. James Franklin 0, Tony Elliott 1.
Okay.
Hey,
can we get a little love?
Can you get Kyle Whittingham to sign like an 8x10 so we can put it in the podcast room with whatever his mantra is?
I could get that done.
We're big fans.
Make it just go back. It's what I've tried to do just to give the smaller guys some love, right?
You're a smaller guy, my friend.
No, I'm trying to stay away from the power. I haven't gone Power 5. You guys are Power 5, and you are going to be a conference rival soon, so I don't know if I can get there.
Hey,
I got some love for Virginia later in the show, so
we can use Steve as a vehicle for this, but I think we start collecting autographs.
There you go.
We just, as a podcast, ask for people's autographs.
Yeah, everyone wants a selfie. People are asking me for selfies. No one asked for the autograph anymore.
I'd much rather get an 8x10 that I have to write my name on, and Kyle could just inscript it with something
a little bit personalized.
Do you want me to sign
my
name or Stanford Steve? Because I don't have a Stanford Steve signature.
I would like a ESPN glamour shot of you, probably with your arms folded over one another, sitting at the desk beside Scott.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd bet you $1 million.
Do you want like half of Scott's arm so you could wonder
T-shirt
if it's really
and a
him?
sport coat would be great if you have that in the arsenal.
I bet you $3 million that Steve has practiced Stanford Steve.
Have not.
Nobody practices his signature more than Howie Long.
I guarantee
Howie Long's signature is a work of art.
Gorgeous.
I always get these balls where I have to sign him after Howie Long, and he writes like, it's gorgeous, and then he's like, HOF, 86 times Pro Bowl, 17 times Lineman of the Year.
Does he go cursive L or?
Yes.
Oh.
Everything's cursive. And it just it's gorgeous.
Greg Williams.
You have the same problem, though, with the cursive. See, with me, with the C in my last name, going to an O and then a U, it's impossible.
That's tough. I could work with you on that.
Okay.
But when I was in St. Louis, Greg Williams was like, I see you guys signing autographs on the side, just fucking scribbling to these kids. Like, that says a lot about who you are. He's like, when you sign your autograph, that's like, that's saying what I'm willing to do to get the job done. Okay, so real quick, where do you lean, Duke, Louisville? Because this is a game that guys seem interested in, both ranked.
Sick of Duke.
4 points. Louisville laying 4 at home?
I think so. I worry about what Duke has done now with Riley Leonard. You play him or he forced himself, whatever, how that was. I worry that set him back because now, if you are, you're not willing to face it, but everybody gets caught up in the moment, right? You're up 20-17 in Tallahassee, undefeated Florida State, and then poof, it's gone. Now you come back a day after. I'm not sure how that ankle's going to be, and now you're possibly not going to have him for Louisville, which you hate to say it when you're in the moment, but that seems like a more winnable game than Tallahassee, Yeah. So I worry that they mismanaged that, and Louisville couldn't overcome the sucker spot of all sucker spots with that Pitt game at Pitt, and get 38 put up on them. But I think that Duke's going into a buzzsaw here, and you saw Braum really get his guys ready for that moment against Notre Dame. So I would lean lean towards Louisville at home minus the points.
All right. I'm distracted because I'm thinking about Brahms' video. I'm trying to remember what he said exactly.
Do I have a pulse?
Do I have a pulse?
pulse?
Yes, I do. Is this the XFL? Yes, it is. Let's play football. Fucking guy can do no wrong. Okay. Georgia, Florida, in the city by the sea, as they call it. Jackson, the largest city by the sea.
I've never heard that one.
No, they don't call it
Never.
that. But it is fucking huge, man. You think Miami's big.
Oh.
Jacksonville's the same size, just less people. It's actually awesome.
Yeah.
Kind of post-apocalyptic, honestly.
Okay. Here's my assessment before jumping into the tape of last week's game. Georgia was on a bye. Florida, last time we saw them, 37-21 against Vanderbilt. Okay. Ready. No Brock Bowers. Okay.
Big deal.
Georgia went to Auburn. Auburn was in that game. Had the lead second half. Blew it. Now, Florida is getting 14.5 points. I think Florida's a better team than Auburn. I'd say take Florida plus the points.
Wow. Okay. I love taking 14.5 points
Yeah, I
to
mean,
the Dome on a Saturday.
Florida's defense not great, but we got to see that, because everybody's just going to say, yeah, Florida has a chance because Brock Bowers is not playing. But when you dive into it, I think Florida's one win away from their season win total, which I thought wasn't going to happen this year. When you go back and look what they had up against, everybody made a big deal what they looked like against Utah. I said, let me see what they look against Tennessee. They come out, they get that win. So I think Florida's pretty capable. Georgia obviously doesn't have the defense, but that's not fair to compare them to them, from defenses of the past. So I think Florida's capable enough to cover the 14.5.
All right, Steve, we haven't talked about this yet, but it takes me about 4 days for a story like this to get me to actually stop and read the clickbait. But It's Michigan and it's cheating.
Yep.
And people are fired up about it. And I just wanted to see where guys land on this, sign stealing thing.
Yeah, to the extent it's going everybody now with the the way you get your ticket, you have a name and all the information, and then boom, 11 Big Ten schools have this guy's name purchasing a ticket and sitting at the 50-yard line. Now, where
Game Time app.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guy just
free
loves
plug.
puns.
Free plug. You want to sponsor?
Yeah, Game Time app. This guy. Ad man.
Send
this
him.
guy.
Send him. I look at this, sign stealing, and obviously the NFL has, coaches are going to go to any length to gain what they call a competitive advantage. And what is a competitive advantage compared to cheating? Because you have their signs, I still feel like coaches could do things if they are worried about a team having everybody. This has been going on forever.
Yes.
And I go back to, all the sign stealers that were at Clemson in that Sugar Bowl against Ohio State the year after the Chase Young Justin Fields game, and Fields comes back, and what does Ryan Day do? Huddles.
Yeah.
No signs. And there are ways to get around it. Is it going to stop it? No. Is the only way to get rid of it to go to the NFL comms with the green dots? Probably, yeah. And I think this is a step in for that direction. I think everybody would be more on the same page with that. But when you factor in what they were doing, who they are, who their head coach is, what's his past been, it's just this perfect storm for everyone that hates Michigan to just absolutely want them banished from college football. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think, the Big Ten's taken steps to, take care of this. Is it going to have any effect on this year? I don't think so.
I don't. Sometimes I'll see a story and I'll be like, am I supposed to be upset? Is this supposed to piss me off? Because some people seem pissed off about this story. Fuck, if a fan can do it.
Yeah.
APB out on everybody's signs and email them to the fucking athletic department. What are you going to turn that information away? No. get better at hiding the signs. I don't see the big deal
What about
here.
the people seated next to my guy, Stallions? Like, hey, pal, why are you setting up a tripod?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, you just really want to remember this one, huh?
He's got the Bushnells out. I don't get it. I don't get, like, if people are really upset about this, I just don't, I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah,
we can do that. We can do it on the field.
Isn't that why we have the dummies on the sideline? Like, hey, this quarter is going to be orange hat instead of yellow.
I think it's fun. If you're a coach, okay, I got to make more codes. That's cool. Code
or
making.
posters.
Yeah, posters.
Yeah,
more
everybody's
posters.
blocking the signs these days.
Yeah, I think it's no big deal. Anyways, do you have a best Pac-12 lock?
We're going to ride it, keep going against Stanford, take UW off of bad performance against Arizona State. UCLA just gave Stanford a business, and we will take Washington minus the big number.
Do they ever write you a letter, Stanford?
No one pays attention
to be like, could you be more positive about us? Because sometimes when Virginia's not great and we just beat UNC, so top 10 team on the road.
Top of the world.
I can remember when we weren't good, it was hard for me to talk about them. All right, so upset special.
Cal over USC.
Wow.
Okay.
Cal's capable. I love Wilcox as a coach. And I just wonder about SC, man. I really like that defense.
Hey, Steve.
Really didn't have any. What?
I said this to Chris. I texted him. I texted Chris. He didn't respond. I said, I like it when my quarterback after the game, he walks to midfield, shakes the hand of the other quarterback. Caleb Williams, everybody's favorite quarterback, just sat on the sideline, sat on the bench, and pouted.
He was dejected. He was dejected.
I'm with you, Steve. I'm with you.
Now,
they're punting.
Now, if you want to talk about Caleb Williams, I think there's some meat on the bone on this topic of would you leave school? Because Acho said it. Now that take it for what it's worth. Acho said it, and he said that if Caleb Williams isn't going to win the Heisman or the national championship, what else is there to do? I know that we're in a day and an age when it's progressive, you're pro labor, you're pro all that stuff, and these guys are workers, right? But I have a hard time imagining leaving school because you didn't win the Heisman. You're not going to win the Heisman or win a national championship. I don't know if you had any opinion on that, because at some point somebody's going to do that because there's enough people that are going to say, hey, no big deal. Also, NIL money, if you leave school, do you cash in on the,
Well, that's a whole nother conversation, because the way people talk, I've almost come across of taking this at a 50% clip of what a player says he's getting. These numbers are just getting outlandish, what you hear. To me, with the Caleb sitting out thing, Chris, look at Addison last night, the other night for the Vikings. Pitt, he's a Maryland kid. He was at Pitt. Caleb's obviously from here. There's a connection. Was he recruiting? I don't know. Did he help him get some money and come to USC? All this stuff that he was out there trying to help the roster, and these guys need you for their opportunity too. Yeah. And you're just going to let down them?
Hey, Steve, that's kind of ingenious there, because this war will be waged online. People will debate this like it's politics.
Yeah, and when he said, he might not go to the NFL because he's going to make more money in SC, I said, why is he going to come back to go 8-4 again?
Yeah.
So now it's turned to, I'll just, I love how everybody says sit out too. You're quitting. You're quitting.
Yeah.
I don't believe Caleb has that.
I don't
really
think so either.
He's too much of a
so
competitor.
No.
He's got too much at stake. I mean, what is it? Dr. Pepper, Heisman House, Wendy's. I mean, that's a rough look.
It's a big leap. I get the bowl game thing for some guys. I do.
And he played last year in a bowl game when people said he wasn't, and he got hurt in the Pac-12 title game. That's the stuff I think about the kid, that he didn't have to play in that last year.
Yeah.
And he did. So when on the field, some of the antics, everybody's going to – I mean, they kept that camera on him too. We're going to keep this camera on until he moves, and he didn't move. And to be shell-shocked like that, I get it. And I think it's one of the toughest things. Coward and I had a conversation. God, this is over 12, 13 years ago. I've always gone back to this, and he talked about judging people after a loss isn't fair. And you get no matter what level, NFL, hockey, women's tennis, college football, high school football, coaches, players, parents. Like, is that fair to do? And I was always brought up in no matter what, you go shake the opponent's hand. That's the way my dad, my family brought me up, and I never sat there. As much as it sucks, you always have the locker room to go back to and be with your guys. But that's a tough look, and it's getting a little crazy. But I go back to this whole sitting out thing, and I think back. He could have sat out last year, and he played, and he was hurt really bad in that Pac-12 title game with the hamstring, and played in the Cotton Bowl against Tulane. So I'm rooting for it because the sport's better with him playing in it. So that's what I got there.
Yeah, I think he was just sitting there thinking like, all right, Cardinals. Who do they play this weekend? Panthers have a quarterback. That sort of thing.
He was thinking about the 4 teams he wanted on his YouTube split screen.
Yeah, exactly. All right, STL Memorial lock. That's a non-Power 5 lock if anybody wants to play a little guy.
Don't want to bring up
JMU.
Virginia.
What?
Jacksonville State -8
All
over
right.
Florida International.
Okay, sickos, eat up. And then the awards. Let's start with the Chang Award. And I was prompted on YouTube because I do read the comments at this time. We're not like some huge machine where I can't read them. But people want to know sometimes when we give these awards a little reminder, a little primer, including the moments on Monday, what these mean. Chang Award. What the fuck does it mean?
Couldn't tell you.
I think it's a quarterback.
My award to a small school kid.
Yep, exactly. It's a quarterback, though.
No.
See, this is the problem, and this is illuminating. Okay. You're right. It's your award, Steve.
Ability to change.
Small school guy.
Timmy Chang Award. We're going to go wide receiver from Penn. Chris, Penn nickname.
Quakers?
There you go.
Yeah.
Wide receiver Jared Richardson. Big win over Yale. 17 catches, 191 yards, and a tutty.
Wow.
He is from Blakesley, PA. I'm not familiar with that place. Shout out Jared Richardson. Big win for the Quakers over to Eli's. And Coughlin Award, come on. We touched on it. Upset of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Hollins, running back, 3 touchdowns for Wahoo Wah, native of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They rushed for like 240 yards against Carolina.
You got that right.
Punishing.
You guys are running school now?
Just punishing. All those UNC alums were just.
We kind of do it all, Steve. There's a cat named Malik Washington who may be the best player in college football.
The numbers are pretty eye-opening.
It goes like Herman Moore, Malik Washington.
Yeah,
Billy McMahon.
Wow.
Yeah. Guy's good.
I like Sean Moore. But you guys had 4 guys in double-digit carries. 228 yards, 54 carries. I love that. Musket slinging it around.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
We're going to be able to keep both quarterbacks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Make sure.
Oh, boy, guys. I don't know. Does somebody else want to intro us into locks? Because I had a bad week.
Hey.
Let's forget last week and let's get to this week for the locks.
I'm sadistic. Okay, Bucks -2. I don't know. I think I was on the right side. I still think I was on the right side.
I don't think so.
Commies, you could tell I was on the wrong side of that from the beginning. The under in Baltimore-Detroit was one of the most fun rides of my life because I gave it out at 42, but then later in the week I get it at 44. So I bet it at 44. And early in this game, it just becomes like, you're not going to win the bet. Let's just somehow get out of here with a push. And some of the action late in that game, we had multiple guys on the under. We were hooting and hollering, and that's also what this league's about. Steve said earlier, it's anybody can win any week. It's also anything can happen with these totals, man. Landed right on 44. Okay,
Were you praying for a miss by Tucker at the end?
Oh, absolutely. I don't want to get too greedy.
That's a helpless feeling.
Yeah.
That is a helpless feeling.
Yeah, because that's not going to happen.
I just did a little math. Collectively, we're 2 games under 500. That's like a roulette. That's better than a roulette wheel.
Okay.
I take that in my game day picks.
So we're just fine. We're just fine. We just need to find a couple wins. Steve,
Unflappable.
you are up first, my friend, at 9-12
Okay.
this season.
Jeez.
Seahawks -3 at home.
I like that, man. Because I think a lot of people are going to be on Cleveland.
Cleveland's in town.
Yep.
Okay. You know that we're doing this on a Tuesday.
No problem.
Okay. The Los Angeles Rams in Dallas
Okay.
getting 6.5. That's too many points.
Okay. All right, I'll take the Houston Texans in Carolina. You know, I feel like I'm probably with the public here, but no matter.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not crazy about it.
How many times have the Texans been a favorite on the road?
Get used to it.
Yeah.
A new era.
Love it.
Hey, who's your coach of the year, Steve?
Oh, that's
You know,
good.
I've been thinking about this because to me, thoughts I had in my head for worst team in the NFL before the season were going to be the Rams or the Buccaneers. And I am totally wrong. So I will go Todd Bowles.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
Yep.
Okay. When you said Sean McVay, I was like, okay, we can talk about this because they fooled me this year. They should give out a worst coach of the year.
Todd Bowles, Tampa Bay.
No, I'm not saying that.
Should be Andy Reid.
I think if Shane Spikeman continues this run, if he wins games with Minshew, if they're in the conversation at the end, and D'Amico is my other name, obviously. I just gave out the Texans, but I'm thinking about like big brain stuff here.
Yep.
It's funny. There was a Jim Irsay video this week where he landed a helicopter and hopped on his four-wheeler that was amphibious. And he narrates the whole video. He said, I just landed this helicopter with my own 2 hands, and now I'm hopping in my amphibious four-wheeler, and I'm going to the pond. And I'm like, thanks. But that's the same guy that hired Spikeman. He might be comeback player of the year. He's got fucking different modes of transportation. He's hiring the biggest brain in the room. I think fucking Jim Irsay might be the comeback player of the year.
I need more Irsay.
No one needs less
we hear
Irsay.
from Jerry Jones after every game. Give me Irsay after every game.
Give me an Irsay live stream after every game.
Oh, Lord.
A live stream.
Wow. I could just like halftime. Hey guys, I'm gonna play the guitar. Come to my suite.
I can't look away. He's the man. Okay.
All right, who's up?
one round.
Steve's second lock.
Who'd Chris take?
The Houston Texans.
Oh, that's right. All right. And what we talked about for a ton today, forgetting what a team looked like the week before.
You're doing it.
Give me the Packers at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me them.
Yeah.
It's dirty, but
It's
you
a
got to
good
do
pick.
it. It's dirty work.
This is my last stand with the Packers.
I keep saying
Reed,
that about a
don't
few
let me take
teams.
Golly day.
The Saints are on my no-fly zone. The Bills were for like 2 days until I looked at Thursday night, and I feel like but I might bet the Bucs actually.
8.5.
A lot of points.
Speaking of 8.5,
Oh,
I'm afraid
no.
the Detroit Lions
All right.
on Monday night.
What would you think? You going to do Ravens at the Cardinals or something?
No,
There's
I'm
Bears
not saying
Chargers
it's
in there
still
too.
Out there. Nope.
Detroit Lions laying
I'm trying
8.5 against the Las Vegas Raiders.
I'm going to be at that game. I cannot wait. Detroit, Monday Night Football, and their opponent is the Raiders the night before Halloween. Can you
Max
imagine what
Crosby.
that scene's going to be?
Max
Can't wait.
Crosby.
Can't wait.
It's going to be 27-10.
Speaking of owners, we got to see more of.
Mark.
Oh my God, dude, that guy's
Go,
electric.
Mark. Go,
WNBA
Mark.
champion.
Oh my God,
back
that
to back.
dance,
Yeah.
dude. That dance, dude. Oh, bottle that up. That's world peace right there is what that is.
Yeah.
Okay? Anyways.
Hey, Steve.
I like
Yeah.
the under in Dallas. I like the that's a good
Okay.
sign.
Okay.
Or I don't know.
I do. I like it.
Okay.
I like it. I like it when I'm on the team catching the points. Steve, those and don't take any offense. That Seahawks and Packers picks, those are good picks.
Thanks.
I like those picks.
I got another one.
Not that I dislike your picks.
I'm the clubhouse leader.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
are.
take offense.
Yeah.
There you are.
Macon, you're not
I just
afraid.
take unders.
I'm not afraid.
Chris is not afraid.
No
Because
fear.
I'm with you guys, I am not afraid. Give me Denver at home +8.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay. All right.
I don't have a reason.
Well, you don't need one.
It's for Reed.
This is the guesses.
Love you, Steve.
Hey,
Thank you, Cowboy.
I'm not afraid of these big lines, and we're
Yeah.
zagging from the week prior. Miami Dolphins at home, -9.5 against the New England
Miami
Patriots.
Dolphins. Miami Dolphins.
I'm going 2-1 this week, right there.
All right.
I'm feeling 3-0.
Don't you feel like the Dolphins are probably public even with all those points? They've been
Yes.
covering
Dolphins
big
are public
spreads.
every week. The worst thing that happened to the Dolphins is they scored 70.
Okay, yeah. Well, the best
It
thing
is.
happened to Vegas. Okay. You know what line kind of you
I
just
can't
take a
believe-
look. Take a
you
hard
better
look at
have this.
Pittsburgh.
I might.
Take a hard look at Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Take a hard look at Pittsburgh, boys. But I just love unders. I can't quit it. I'm going to go Atlanta and
Yes!
Tennessee under.
Yes, that's what I was looking at.
It's a
I knew
Big
you were
Ten
gonna
number.
do it.
I'm not scared.
Levis.
I'll
Willis.
take the step.
Don't be scared.
Like fucking the Indiana Jones movie where he's got to walk across and it's invisible. That's how I feel right now. I'm doing it. The chalice is on the other side.
Love it.
I fear that I may be Joe Public on Tuesdays. I think it takes me until the end of the week.
to morph into sharp
Yeah.
Macon?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got to start making your calls on Monday now, Macon,
Yeah.
for the next week.
Okay, guys. So we gave them out one more time for the people that are tallying them. I gave out the Texans laying 3, Dallas under 45.5. Now I'm going to want to buy the Texans, I believe. Right, guys? You guys have never steered me
Absolutely.
wrong on
At a
this.
field goal
Okay,
for sure.
this is where I struggle to do basic math and things like that. But I got Dallas and the Rams under 45.5, Falcons under 36.5. Although, man, it'd be nice to get 37, get that push. Macon gave out the Rams catching 6.5, the Lions laying 8.5, and then the Dolphins at home. Him and the rest of America, Dolphins 9.5. Steve, Seahawks laying a field goal, Packers catching a point, and Denver catching 8 points at home. Yeah.
Yep.
Steve, take those Seahawks down to 2.5.
That's
huh?
what I'm thinking. Great minds think alike,
That's
Macon.
right. That's right. And go ahead and give me those Rams at 7.
Boom.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Bring that back. All right. Let's talk about trades because we talked about the Niners earlier. And, inevitably in any of these situations, and disclaimer to people, it's the trade deadline next week. We got to talk about it. It is fun. It's interesting. There are more trades every year. We talk about this all the time in the NFL. It's not quite NBA level, but it's fun. And, when you look at the Bills or you look at the Niners or a few of these teams that have been struggling, some of the answers don't take into account scheme change and that sort of thing, or adjustments, or players just playing bad. We want to fix it right now with more players. And so let's have fun with it. Let's talk about a couple of these teams. First team that actually just took care of business was the Eagles, and you knew how he would do it. And if I'm the Titans, I don't block that caller.
Yeah, seriously.
Not that I think Byard's going to pan out the way that A.J. Brown did. I mean, that goes down as you just gave him away. But this is a big need for the Eagles. I don't know if they're done making moves, but this is a move that really works out. And I think his life just got a little bit easier. When we had Jeff Fisher on the other day, he said, in Tennessee right now, he's doing a lot of coordinating younger players, getting people on the same page. He's asked to do a lot. The Eagles could really use him back there, and this doesn't solve the problem of who's going to cover the slot necessarily. No, it doesn't. But you desperately need the help. I'm glad they went out and got it. And he wasn't on my bingo card. We threw around a couple people who were like bona fide slot guys. But this guy's a great player. So excited about Byard and wondering what some of these other teams, what they might do.
A question about the Eagles.
Yeah.
Been thinking about it. Obviously, I don't think Jalen's 100%.
No, I don't think he's 100%.
And I wonder about that, knowing – I mean, you talk about a mindset. We talked about Caleb Williams earlier in the show. When I think about a professional athlete, give me Jalen Hurts and the way he handles things over anybody. But with that, he's pretty stubborn. He's not going to let you in. He's not going to, be, I think, forthcoming with the injury. And on top of that, you have Sirianni, who is just balls to the wall every second. I wonder how that relationship manifests over, like, if he needs a break, is he going to get it? I just think about what's asked of him, and I just worry that it's going to be too much, and they could jeopardize something. Something I've been thinking about.
Well, it's interesting because they've kind of gone away from the design run stuff, right?
There's none.
Like, yeah, I mean,
none.
Except for on 3rd and 4th and 1.
Yeah, on 3rd and 5 the other night at times, or 3rd and 9 in the red zone. But, like, they obviously are aware of it, and I feel like it's happening in Buffalo too.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see as many Josh Allen, like, go win it with your legs play calls. I think he's going to be fine, but, like, if you're talking about –
I'm just saying how long a season is, right?
It's a long time, and when you look at every week now, there's not a week where, like, if he's really dinged, you feel great about Mariota. Yeah, and that's a pretty good backup to have.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, you got the Commanders this week. They've given you trouble on the road.
Yeah.
If
I
had to
Miami's
give one out, I'd probably give out
played really well.
Yeah, it did. I'd give the Commanders out and buy a half point. Not saying the Eagles are going to lose, but that's a tough spot.
Yep.
The Cowboys, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Niners, the Cowboys, the Seahawks, geez Louise. And then there's 3 weeks at the end of the season that if you can get through this gauntlet and this guy's hurting, you give him some time depending on where you are sitting in the NFC.
You stopped at the Giants?
No offense.
Okay, untaken.
But, that's a team they've never had trouble with lately under this regime in the NFC East, unless I forgot a game. I mean, Washington's been the team that gives you problems. So, to answer your question, Steve, sometimes it's going to be a bitch. They're deep in the season now. I think you can get him healthy some weeks by de-emphasizing some of that stuff. You saw, like, Joe Burrow was rehabbing while he was playing. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not a big proponent of that, but he stopped moving literally for a month. And then one day he just fucking bought time in the red zone in Phoenix or Glendale.
There also could be some confusion in the building because it's like, hey, Jalen, how are you? He says, I'm Hurts.
Mm-hmm. That's good. What's the timestamp on this? Took him a while to do it. It's very funny, though. It's funny, yeah.
Thanks. Sometimes the funniest ones don't elicit any laughter.
Yeah, that's true. I know how that is. I know how that is. I wouldn't compare the two. But so I think the Jags are interesting because nobody talks about them. They're as good as anybody in the league when it comes to the position they're in, like in the AFC with their record and everything. They don't have the tiebreak against the Chiefs, but this is a team that could host a fucking playoff game, win this division, and go on a run. And I think you need pass rush, and I think Doug Peterson knows that. I think Doug saw what, like having a deep group in Philly. Walker has been okay. He just is not like an elite rusher, and I think we saw that coming, but I don't think we saw it to this degree where it's like you got Josh Allen on one side, you're leaving a lot of money on the table not having somebody on the other side, and Ngakoue would be a guy that you could rotate in, pick your spots on first and second down. There's a reunion element to that thing. I think the Jags should go make a move for a rusher.
Who you're taking of the two Broncos receivers? Is it the same guy for both teams?
I think so. Well, I'm a Judy apologist or whatever you want to call it, and I watched the whole Steve Smith thing. I like it's tough. It's tough being that guy. Judy's in defense mode. Like when you're in that situation, and it's true what he said. Like it's absolutely true that when you are a high draft pick, the situation you're in matters. The quarterback, the offensive line, all that stuff. He probably shouldn't have said it because I don't think he thought about how it would be interpreted. But he's right, and I feel for him. I think more people are going to be into Cortland Sutton. But I like Judy. I think there's something there. It's just he's been in a fucked up situation.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. One more. Seattle Seahawks with Nwosu. I know I don't know if I mentioned this, but I think Danielle Hunter, like,
oh, God.
Right now, how much could you get for him? I mean, how much could you get for him if you were Minnesota? He's quietly leading the league in sacks, basically.
Yes.
Like, nobody talks about him.
But,
so one year he's going to break the record, and everybody's going to be like, "What the fuck?"
But not applicable now, right? Because you see 3 and 4, and you think you're playing for.
Yeah, that's the hard
postseason.
part. It's like we've said this a million times. You talk about Mike Evans. Like, if I was Detroit, I'd send the house down to Tampa for Mike Evans, like a big body guy that can help Jared Goff a little bit. But like, Mike Evans probably not on the block, so to speak, because all of a sudden, they're trending the wrong way. You're Mike. What do you do with your house? Like, it's a weird time. I don't know, guys. Anybody you think might want to trade somebody?
It was Saquon. Saquon said it in the last week.
Oh, the Ravens.
Saquon was saying, "I don't want to be traded," and then in the same breath he said, "You have to move."
Yeah, exactly.
It was like, that's a bummer. It wasn't my teammates. It wasn't we're turning this around. It's like you got to actually physically move.
That part sucks. And speaking of Saquon, we talked about the Ravens. The Ravens looked as good as anybody on Sunday, but I guess the thing is, at some point, a running back goes down. How thin are you there? You know, and if you have aspirations like you want to win the Super Bowl, the run game cannot exit the game plan. Like that is a strength you can lean on. I don't know, man. Derrick Henry, Jacobs, Barkley, Cook.
I just don't see those teams getting rid of those names.
Yeah, I don't know. But Tennessee not getting rid of Derrick Henry at some point and getting something for him, it's like
time's right.
Yeah. And if you love the guy, set him free. Because he's basically, I mean, next year or the year after next year, you're not going to be able to get anything for him. At some point, he's going to wear out.
Do you think a team like Cleveland goes for a quarterback? Do you think that it's that?
I don't think they can admit it that quickly.
Cleveland's going to need a running back.
If things keep going bad for the Chargers, maybe Eckler could be on the block. They'll lose him after this season anyway. I would like him in Baltimore.
That'd be awesome.
Ooh.
That'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
Like if they fire Brandon Staley and it's a full rebuild. But.
I mean, I might not even wait. Because it's next week. So I don't know, when does Brandon Staley get the axe if he does? If they haven't done it already, if
he loses to the Bears Sunday night.
Yeah.
We keep saying this, and here's how that game will play out. Then, basically, they're going to go for it and get stuffed on 4th down late in the game, and then Bajan's going to check to a run like Tyrod Taylor, and they're going to win the game, and then they're not going to fire him. So, anyways,
you never see kickers get traded for each other.
No.
But you know what's funny? Speaking of kickers, and we just brought up the Bears game, they need to make this a thing. Did you see, I don't know if it was the Bears were kicking off, and I don't know if the guy fucked it up, but he kicked it right into the guy in the front line's face.
Yeah.
And it is a wildly effective way to do an onside kick.
Yeah.
If you can pull that off, if you can get a guy to kick a line drive at the front line there, about waist high, head high would be even better.
The worst case is a squib kick.
Exactly, dude. Just a little nugget for John Fossil. Bonesy, wherever you are. All right, that's the end of the show. Steve, thank you so much for the time, buddy. Enjoy Salt Lake City.
Hey, you guys have fun up in the clouds enjoying that win over Chapel Hill, okay?
Love you,
Stay
Steve.
up there.
Thank
Steve.
you.
We love you.
Thank you, Steve.
Love you guys.